Welcome to Inside the Game on the National Soccer Network. Now, here are your hosts, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wangler.
Well, good morning. It is Friday. It is August the 8th. 2025. I'm Jonathan Turner. That's Nathan Wangler. We have a great show lined up for you here this morning. Before we really dive into our topics, we've got some goings to talk and dive into tonight, this afternoon. UPSL National Championships get underway in Irvine, California. You've got Chicago Nation, who's making their third appearance in these national championship weekend. Last time they made it, it was back in 2023, Leesburg, Virginia, and they ended up taking the third place game, winning in that game. That's probably why Peter has been unavailable the last couple of days. He's probably right now drinking? Well, not drinking because it's right now in Cali. It is 6 a.m. So if he's drinking, Peter has a problem. But but he is definitely in Irvine, California, joining Chicago Nation as they go on to battle Tennessee Tempo here tonight in a good matchup. And you know, we talk about it all the time here, but you know, the reality is that it's a cool weekend for amateur soccer. It's a very unique one because again, of all the leagues that we've covered, a lot of them have had their localized playoffs and haven't had to do a ton of traveling. They end up picking more of a host site that is obviously a home environment for one of the teams. Here, this is a neutral environment in Irvine, California, at Championship Field in Orange County. And again, I've been there. It's a cool place that you can definitely go in. LA 10 is playing in this game in this weekend. Tennessee Tempo, Chicago Nation, and Balboa FC from Fort Worth, Texas are all in the national finals. Again, LA 10 is taking on Balboa, Chicago Nation taking on Tennessee Tempo. Both those games kick off tonight, 8 o'clock and 11 o'clock Eastern. On the UPSL YouTube channel. I will say this, Nathan, I did try to get these games on our platform. I was unsuccessful in that, but not because the UPSL doesn't want to do that. It just timing-wise, trying to get it all worked out, just unfortunately wasn't able to do it. Have great respect for the UPSL and all the leagues that we've partnered with over the years, just unable to get that one on our platform here tonight. But, hey, you know, the future is bright, and we will try and do that, obviously, here in the future. But before we get into these topics, Nathan, what is new with you?
Nothing new. Another day, another show. Yeah, exciting times with the championships. It's cool to see that Chicago team march on to that game. You know, I got to cover one of their games. Obviously, they started off with that win over Detroit City FC, and that was the game that you guys were on. But you know, I got to do that their game against New York, and that's a good side, man. I mean, New York nearly came back in that game and won it, but you know, Chicago's got a lot of good pieces. Skichenko on the front, he's athletic, man. I mean, I think he's learning how to really round his game, make himself more rounded with his ability to finish with both feet. But I think in that game alone, he proved that, you know, athletically wise, that he's someone who is a prime target for that team, and really kind of put New York on skates a lot of times with how he was able to surgically kind of get through their defense and create opportunities, not only for himself, but for other players too. I know he assisted on one of the goals in that game. So he's a special talent. So I would expect him to be, you know, on top of it. And, you know, I heard, you know, some of the people around that program, including their head coach, talk about how, you know, it's exciting to be back. It's exciting to be, you know, a part of it, but they're trying not to get too far ahead of themselves. Cause I mean, they understand what goes into that. They understand what that might mean. I mean, it's, they've been there before. They've been to this point before, but they've fallen short. So that can be that can cause a little bit of anxiety for for a team that is looking to finish, and for a team that's been so close so many times. And again, we talked about yesterday just how many teams are in the UPSL. I mean, it's tough to climb your way all the way to that point. It's really hard to get all the way there, but they've done it, and they've created a reputation of being a team that can make deep runs. Now it's just a matter of going out and finishing it. So I'm excited for them. I'm excited to see exactly how all that turns out. And this is a Chicago team that, like I said, in a lot of ways has earned the right to call themselves champions, but it's easier said than done. It's one thing to get there. It's another thing to finish it. So I'm interested to see exactly how that turns out. And yeah, I was curious as to why Peter wasn't around commenting on our shows the last couple of days. Now I think I figured it out. He's been in transit out to California. So Peter, if you are listening here today, if he was, he'd probably be commenting. But go have fun. Should be a thrilling one.
It definitely should. We'll keep an eye on that tonight. Also tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern here on NSN, we will have the North American Soccer Expo recap show. We did 10 interviews last weekend with a number of different former players, as well as very influential people within the soccer community, including Alexi Lalas, Fox Sports, Luis Robles, former MLS goalkeeper, David Simeon, United Soccer coaches, Jen Klein, University of Michigan women's soccer coach, and so many more. So tune in tonight at 8 p.m. That's a live show where Ryan Klinsky and myself will we'll talk about that, as well as you'll watch the interviews from last weekend. 2-hour show coming up here tonight on the National Soccer Network. And we got some really exciting things that we're going to be doing here over the coming weeks and months. And it was funny. I remember the old school days, and you can probably attest to this too, Nathan, is like, growing up and watching ESPN and NFL, they had this thing, NFL Films, right? That was something that we saw, right? And you watch they pull out the archive of a game from 1987, right? Between the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers. And you're just like, this is great. Well, I've got 2,875 games in our archives from the last 4 years. And so we want to start pulling out and kind of doing kind of like a really cool thing on weekends. When there's not when I say weekends, maybe like picking a Friday night or a Saturday night where, hey, you can every weekend you can come in and you can see a game that happened from 3 years ago. And what we'll do is we'll kind of do it like almost kind of like Manning. The Manning brothers do, right, on ESPN for Monday Night Football. Kind of sit there, watch the game, have some back and forth. Talk about it a little bit, maybe try to get some former players to talk in an interview, things like that I think will be really, really fun. So we'll announce the outline up here. It'll start in September, but a great way for us to, pull out some of the footage from the last 3-4 years and re-highlight some of the really fun and exciting games that we have covered here in our history. So we'll start to do that here in the coming weeks into September. But hey, last night me and you had a chance to talk about today's show, and we were talking about Tom Brady, and obviously Tom Brady, Nathan, is someone that 23 years in the NFL, 7-time Super Bowl winner, right? I mean, he's got a ton of rings. He should have played for a couple more years to get an even 10, but one for each finger, right? But he's in the news here for another reason in this docuseries, where he's critical of Wayne Rooney. And I have not seen the docuseries. I was planning on watching it this weekend, but I think it's out right now. The series is actually out. You can watch it. But we want to talk about this morning because obviously Wayne Rooney. If you don't, unless you live under a rock, and you should know who he is. He's obviously a former English player from Team England, as well as part of the Detroit. It's not Detroit. DC United here in the United States, played there. But the reason he is under where was this whole thing with Tom Brady is Tom Brady was calling him out for how he coached. And I think specifically in regards to Birmingham, right? Wayne Rooney was fired 83 days into his tenure at Birmingham, right? And so this is the one thing I don't necessarily like about soccer is I feel like we fire coaches way too fast. The NFL Coaches come in. I think, again, unless you are being brought into an environment, Nathan, where it just doomed and gloom, typically coaches have at least 2 to 3 years to kind of get there. I mean, I don't know what the average is, but I would imagine it's usually at least 2. Going into your third season is when you might see some people getting tossed. Yes, in year 1, we've seen coaches get tossed. That was because clearly they knew going into it they made a terrible mistake. you know? But soccer and baseball I feel like, are sports that are like that. Maybe basketball too, right? You get into like 10 games, you're 0 for 10. We're gonna toss you. I feel like that's still not enough time. But I'd love to get your take on this before we dive into actually Tom Brady's comments. When is too soon to fire a coach?
Yeah,
I mean, it's the month and 13 days. It's like
right. For those who don't know, yeah, the documentary is behind the scenes at Birmingham City FC. It's essentially it's kind of like a Last Chance U type show, but follows players, key ownership figures. Obviously Tom Brady is a part of this as the team gets promoted. It's funny, I was watching it a little bit, and the trailer itself, fans kind of set the scene for what exactly the club is and the transformation they want to see with Brady, explaining that Birmingham City FC, and I found this funny, have been the pioneers of effing up games of football since 1875. So even in the little bit that I know about European soccer, the one thing that I have figured out is that this is a team that historically has not done too well, and they've found a way to choke away games historically. But it's a 5-part docuseries that tells that authentic tale of a club accustomed to sporting heartbreak, being rebuilt to win. And I mean, that's what Brady says, trying to make this a world-class team. I think where the issue comes into play, and I saw a lot of different reviews on this. I saw Dan Patrick did a series on this, or at least a response to this documentary. And I did see the video that you were talking about with him being critical of Wayne Rooney. I think the response to it has in a lot of ways been furious from European football / soccer fans because this is a really, number one, it's a really loyal fan base in Birmingham City. I mean, the cultural heritage around that place has lent itself to a very, very loyal following, and that's why they're trying to get this resurgence, in their land. But to see someone come from America, and not only that, a completely different sport. Obviously, we know that Tom Brady carries a lot of weight with his name. I mean, he's a winner, and I think that's why he's so respected in so many circles, because of how much he has won. That we assume that if you put him in any sort of situation, that he's going to be able to build a winner. But how much knowledge around the sport of soccer / football does he actually have? And that's why you've seen the visceral reactions from a lot of European fans, because they're like, what does he actually know? Yeah, he knows a lot about watching film and working hard and winning games, and he knows what a winner looks like, but it's not necessarily something he's accustomed to. And so I try to, in these types of situations, I try to like flip it around and imagine what would it be like the other way. It would be like, if Ronaldo retired and then he joined the ownership group for the Green Bay Packers, and he came out and he was in the locker room and he was digging into the coach about how he's not showing the right work ethic, and that's why the Packers aren't winning. And all the Americans would sit around and look at each other and go, is Ronaldo criticizing an American football coach? Like, I don't has he ever even watched a game? Has he ever even been a part? Like, what is he talking about? And so the one thing I'll say is that obviously Brady is a winner and he'll always be a winner. But I think that's where things kind of get murky and when it comes to the European coaches. That's why I'm interested to continue watching this, because like I said, I've only watched a little bit of it. But series is executive produced by the Peaky Blinders creator and lifelong Blues fan, Stephen Knight. Peaky Blinders is great, by the way. I don't know if you've gotten an opportunity to watch that, but aims to use his personal connection with the club to ensure genuine portrayal of Birmingham City's transformation. And so it's kind of like right alongside Wrexham. Yeah, and they just recently played Wrexham, so I didn't see if they beat him or not. I got to look up to see how that all went. But it is, I will say it's fascinating, because I think, and I talked about this with Ryan when last time we were having a conversation on this podcast, the amount of American superstars, big name celebrities that I guess the new frontier is European soccer. Like they see business opportunities over there. They want to get involved. They want to build, winners, just because they weren't involved in the sport themselves, they see just how popular the product is. And so they want to insert themselves into it. And the truth is like, if Tom Brady comes knocking, like, a lot of people aren't going to turn that guy away. I certainly wouldn't turn that guy away. But to the credit of the European fan, if it upsets you exactly what he was saying about Wayne Rooney, and I think that is a little too fast to fire a coach. But I will say, I think in football/soccer, I think there's a different mentality around that. I think people are a little bit quicker to jump the gun and get a head man out faster than maybe other sports. And I think maybe because I don't know why, maybe because it's easier for a new coach to assimilate and put in a new strategy versus like other sports. But I do think that is ridiculously fast. But again, I'll give the Europeans some credit, because it is weird to see someone insert themselves into, again, a club that historically, I mean, back to the late 1800s has been playing that. I mean, I don't even know, if Brady's ever touched a pitch in his life. I mean, maybe early in life, but certainly not recently. Trying to comment on everything that's going on and lead this team in a new direction. So I think it's interesting, and it seems like the Europeans certainly have a point when it comes to what Brady's trying to accomplish. But I guess that's where it all starts. If you got to get rid of the head man, you got to get rid of the head man. But it is a fascinating clash of cultures, and I find it weird on my end. Brady, you can clearly tell that there's a little bit of an ego there. He thinks if he just shows up that he's going to be able to turn something into a winning product. But part of that takes having knowledge of the game itself. So I'll be interested to see how this great experiment turns out for him.
I have a slightly different take on this than you do. Ryan Reynolds and Rob, I can't pronounce Mackel, whatever his last name is, the guy from the sunny side of Philadelphia, whatever he called it. But anyways, McElhaney, I think is how you pronounce his last name. None of those guys have any idea how to own a team, right? They did that because they have money, and they did that because but again, we talked about this, I think, yesterday a little bit. Like, if they don't get promoted, they lose. And so they've done a great job. But being an owner, you don't have to know jack shit about the team in which you're about to own. I mean, we can talk all day long about how many owners are across this world have, just because they have freaking money, own something, and they have no clue. But any ownership group, if whether they know something about soccer or not, or the sport in which they're owning, they own, they have to hire people who know more than they do about the sport, and that's why every general manager, for the most part, is a former player, former executive within an organization that's had success. Right? That's why they're there. Wayne Rooney is one of the best players to play in England ever. I mean, you could argue just what he was able to do on the field. His work rate on the field. He was known for being a very gritty and physical player. Okay. But if you're going to sit here and tell me that Tom Brady doesn't know what work ethic is, I think the difference is that he's used to walking into an environment where people are there like 22 hours a day. It's probably the difference. But he doesn't have to know soccer to know what is right in front of him. I think the biggest challenge that we face is that as head coaches, your job is to lead the team. And you hire assistant coaches, which is their job, is to get the team prepared, right? You have trainers, and they're trainers. There's a defensive, not coordinators, but let's be honest. In football, you've got defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator. Then you've got, for positions, linebacker coach. You've got defensive line coach. You've got quarterback coach, wide receivers coach, running back coach. Let's be honest. What do? Well, those coaches are designed to have an environment where they are one-on-one, or in some cases 1-on-4, 1-on-5, and they're having conversations and they're mentoring and teaching the roles to the players that they're responsible for. Now, maybe not so much at the NFL level. It's probably more X's and O's and tactical and different things. But at college, you could argue that's probably where most of this work is done, and even in high school. But most high schools don't have a running back coach. You can't afford that, right? So But in these professional realms, Wayne Rooney is the quote unquote like top, right? And then you've got 17 other people who fall underneath him who are position coaches, different tactics. You got your trainers, you've got your psychologists, your doc. I mean, all these people fall underneath him. So if you're looking at it from the standpoint of, well, is Wayne Rooney actively, out there on the field and doing all no, he might have 6 other people who do that for him. And I would argue that Bill Belichick doesn't do a whole lot of shit. I would argue that Bill Belichick had enough coordinators around him, and his whole job was to oversee all of that, interject when he needed to, obviously be the bull that he was. Otherwise, he wouldn't have won 6 Super Bowls. But a lot of this fell on his assistants. But if you walk in the morning and you see Bill Belichick in the office, the lights are still on, and you leave and the lights are still on, he's still there. Well, but you walk in and Wayne Rooney's never in his office, or Wayne Rooney is, not, you can't find him anywhere. Maybe he's, whatever the case might be. The bottom line is he didn't win while he was there. Bottom line is he didn't win. And to be fair, in his he hasn't won a ton as a coach. I mean, not great. He's been at 4 places. Right now he's at Argyle, right? Derby County, DC United from 2022 to 2023. I'd have to look at his actual statistics as far as how many, what his actual winning career as far as coaching. I'm trying to see if I have it here. Managerial. Okay. So at Derby County from 2020 to 2022, 24, 22, and 39. So he had a win percentage of 28%. DC United, he was 14, 14, and 25. 26% winning percentage. Birmingham City, he was 2, 4, and 9 after 15 games, 13% winning percentage. Plymouth Argyle, 5, 6, 14, 20%. His overall winning percentage as a head coach is 25%. He is 45, 46, and 87. All right, so, I mean, let's just call it what it is. He's not a good head coach. He's just not a good head coach. I mean, so you can complain about Wayne Rooney and what Tom was saying about work ethic or whatever else. He's just not a good head coach. Results speak for themselves. He does okay. And is there anything wrong with us saying that? I don't think there's anything wrong with us saying that Wayne Rooney is not a good coach. There are a lot of players out there who became coaches are not good coaches and should not coach or coach at this level. Because here's the thing. Wayne Rooney, just like Cristiano Ronaldo, just like Lionel Messi, just like David Beckham, these are stars. And stars typically have the spotlight on them. And if they're not in the game, what happens? People start to question why they're not there. If the team doesn't have success when they're not on the pitch, they have to wear that on their shoulders. If they're on the pitch and the team doesn't have success, they wear that on their shoulders. I mean, this is the conundrum or the problem with being a superstar in your sport, because if you don't do well or you do too well, you're always under this microscope. And I also think there's something to be said about having this kind of chip on your shoulder when you know you're the best player on your team and you know you're one of the best players in your country or in your game, in your sport. And you carry that around your entire life. And so when you go onto a field after you've retired and you're now portraying the mindset you want players to have, I don't think that translates. Tom Brady would not be a great head coach. I think Tom Brady would probably even admit that. Why? Because Tom Brady, as great as Tom Brady was, probably not the best when it comes to telling other players how they should act and how they should be on the field, because that is what a head coach does. A head coach is trying to cultivate all these different personalities. And if you're a superstar, you probably aren't going to be able to communicate that properly because people are not going to align with you. The player out there who's not a superstar is not going to buy into that because they're not a superstar. They're just your quote-unquote typical player. So I think it just doesn't resonate with people. I just think the way he isn't resonating with his players, and therefore they're not buying into him. They buy into his ability as far as a player, but into his coaching ability, they don't buy into it. Therefore, it doesn't reflect on the field. That's the reason why he's not successful. That's the reason why he's not winning soccer games. It's because there's no buy-in from the players. They haven't bought into him. And again, that's why your best managers oftentimes are not your highest performers. They're not. Look at the NBA. Look at again. Baseball may be different. Baseball is more individualistic than anything else. I mean, of all the sports, baseball is one of those ones where, you know, 8 of your players could be shitty in a game. One player had, you know, or 6 of them could be shitty, 4 could be good, you know, 3 could be good, whatever, and you win baseball games. And so, or the whole team could be shitty in a game, but the other team could be equally shitty, and you still win. Baseball is one of those weird ones where it doesn't matter if you're a superstar as a manager. I think it still works. But you start talking about like basketball, you start talking about football, you start talking about hockey. I don't think the superstar, the best player ever coaching works out. I think you're middle of the row. You're hey, started, you know, for a bit, had some success, maybe won a Super Bowl, you know, as a backup, right? But how many head coaches in the NFL were superstars? Like straight up superstars. I would have to go look, but if I think of all the head coaches in the NFL right now, are there any that were like quote unquote superstars? I mean, I'm not asking this as a rhetorical question. I'm just curious. I don't think there's any of them. I mean, Sean McVay. Wow, McVay. Did he even play? He was just under his father, right? His father was part, right? He just kind of came up as one of those kids, right? That just happened to be part of a coaching family, right? I mean, Andy Reid. Was he a superstar? Dan Campbell was a tight end, but let's be honest, middle of the row. I mean, he wasn't like this stud NFL. Like he wasn't like, you know, Travis Kelce, right? I mean, of all the NFL coaches and the ones historically who have been the greatest players in their time. I mean, that's why, look, Joe Montana never coached, right? Tom Brady will never coach. Peyton Manning will never coach. He might coach his kid's pee-wee football team for like 5 minutes, but never coach. I'm looking at it saying, okay, well, why is that? Pete Carroll. You know, all these Bill Belichick. What was Bill Belichick? Did he coach? He didn't play. Did he play? Nathan, did Bill Belichick, did he actually play? I think you're muted, dude.
One of those ones where I'm not exactly sure.
I feel like there's something to be said about that. And again, you take your best soccer players. You know, I mean, the New York Yankees have had a history of coaches, right? I mean, some of them are a former really good player. I mean, Joe Girardi, when they won World Series, I don't think he was the best player of his time. You know,
yeah.
Joe Torre, good player, not the greatest. You know, that's why I'm saying I think your best, and this translates, by the way, into a lot of things, and not just in sports. I mean, some of my best managers growing up were not the most highly successful, sales reps or employees. The best ones happen to be the ones that were just consistently good.
All right.
They were just consistent. You know, they gave it their all. They worked hard and they were consistent. And that, I think, is what the traits are of a really good coach, is someone that, first off, knows how to win, understands what losing is like, and also understands like the complexities of having to battle the different personalities. Because if you're in the middle of the pack, you know how to mind your P's and Q's. You also know how to give it your all because you want to be on the field. And, so I think there's a lot to be said about that. And Wayne Rooney is a very dynamic player, a gritty player. I mean, if you watch that DC United, like when they're down a goal, and I don't remember the game that they were playing, but they're down a goal and goalkeeper's pushed up, corner kick comes in, ball comes out, and now Wayne Rooney's tracking the ball back 60 yards with a player, slide tackles it, and then just sends a dime into the box, puts on the end of the head of a DC United, one of his teammates, and into the back, and then it goes, ties this game up. I mean, it was an unbelievable play. That is Wayne Rooney. That is quintessential Wayne Rooney. I don't think that Wayne Rooney translates to the rest of the team. I don't think it does. And again, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know Wayne Rooney personally, but just because you're a great soccer player doesn't mean you can be a great coach. And to be fair, there are a lot of really good X's and O's coaches out there. Perfect example of this, right? What happens every year in the NFL? Well, coordinators who are really good at X's and O's, who are there to support their head coach. They have success. And what do? They get picked from that team. They go where? To another team. And then do they last? No, they don't last. How many offensive coordinators have we seen over the years, on average, get plucked away from their existing team, go to a new team as a head coach, and do not last? I mean, Josh McDaniels, my God, that guy's had 75 chances. And he's never been successful as a head coach. Right. He is a great coordinator. That's where he should be. So yep. I'm with Tom Brady on this one. The work ethic thing, I don't know if I get the work ethic part of it. He's just not a good head coach. And so I think that's something we have to say about that is not every great player is going to be a great head coach. And I don't want to put this thing in a box where it's we say that, well, if Messi became a coach, he'd be terrible. I'm not going to say that. Okay. That I'm not going to, but on average, more oftentimes than not, these great athletes, these superstars of their time, they don't work out to be great head coaches. And a lot of it has to, I think, do with personality and mindset. And I just don't think it resonates because, again, if you're sitting there in that room and you're listening to Messi as your head coach, you're first off, you're probably in awe that you're there in the first place. Messi's your coach, and then there's this, okay, yeah, but do I really relate to him? He's so up here. I'm right, do I even relate? It's real easy to relate to Dan Campbell. Relatable wise, I don't think there's a player in that locker room that couldn't relate to him. Mm-hmm. And that's a real thing. If you talk about locker room mentality, being able to relate to your head coach, buying into what he's saying, it's a real thing. It is a real thing. It is, especially in sports like soccer and football, because they read through that bullshit so fast. So if Tom Brady is saying he's not a good coach, I would tend to agree with Tom Brady more than somebody else. Plus, statistically, if the stats are there, he has a 25% winning percentage as a head coach. That's
not great.
That's pretty shitty.
Yeah, not great.
No offense, Wayne. No offense. I'm just great soccer player. He's not a good coach. It's okay. Mm-hmm. It's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've also seen that in ownership groups, though. You think about Michael Jordan. If there's one American athlete that I feel like if you were to ask any American fan, rank your best American athletes of all time, MJ always ends up on the top 5 list. We were talking about lists a little bit earlier. If anybody lists a top 5 American athletes of all time and that they don't have an MJ on the list, their list isn't correct. I'm sorry, but and that's something that, we can go back and forth about him and LeBron. And of course, the new generation is going to have a different opinion because they never saw MJ play. So naturally, that is going to be a little bit different. But when you talk about, making that transition from, okay, you're a player on the court to now all of a sudden, you're up in that position to where you got to be the one making the decisions and calling the shots. Jordan has done an absolutely terrible job in Charlotte. They have not gotten any better. They've gotten some good individual players. They got Melo. Miles Bridges was good with them for a stretch of time, but for the most part, that was a team that they didn't win a whole lot, and they still don't win. Historically, if we're talking about Birmingham City, that's kind of what Charlotte's been, and it's I wouldn't say MJ ran it into the dirt, but that's one of the greatest individual American athletes of all time. He takes a front office position and they're still not winning. So I don't think it's any foregone conclusion that just because Brady's in that position and all of a sudden he's, critiquing one of the soccer greats in Wayne Rooney about his work ethic. And yeah, he wasn't a good coach, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee just because he's there that they're going to turn around and start winning games. I think it'll be interesting to see how all of it turns out, to be completely honest with you. But yeah, I mean, we've seen that time after time, and organization after organization fall into this trap of, well, you were a great player once upon a time, so therefore you'll be a great decision maker. Does not always work out to be that way. But transitioning into our next point here today on Inside the Game, the MLS got another great one the other day. LAFC, who probably doesn't need any help, but they got some. Blockbuster summer signing, Son Heung-min, who I believe I am pronouncing that name right, said his move to the MLS, a dream come true, was with Tottenham Hotspur for 10 years, a 10-year run with Tottenham before signing with LAFC. It was a record deal between him and LAFC worth around $26 million. That is a record, by the way, in Major League Soccer. Designated player with a contract through 2027, including an option for 2028 and an additional option through June of 2029. Sources told ESPN that. But a two-time player of the year for Tottenham Hotspur, said it was a difficult departure, obviously, from the Premier League, where he joined all the way back and joined from Bayer Leverkusen. I don't know how you say that in Germany in 2015. But, said it was an emotional decision, obviously coming over here to play in the United States after a decade, but 137 goals in all competitions with Tottenham. Golden Boot Award winner 2021 and 2022. But you talk about bringing, I know the one thing that we've said about the MLS is they need to continue to get bigger names in there. Like if they want to grow as a league, like that is step number one for what this team needs to do. They need to get bigger names in there. They need to get more influential names in there. And Son Heung could certainly be exactly that for them. And it's funny because LAFC literally just won the MLS Cup. So I don't know if they necessarily need another player in there. And it's something that's interesting is people have talked about, and I've heard that the MLS in a lot of ways is becoming top heavy. But I think that's another thing that is uniquely American is super teams. Sometimes you see, in baseball, obviously for the longest while was the Yankees. Now that's not necessarily the case anymore because I think it's a lot bigger than just do you have the amount of money. But we saw super teams and dynasty in the NBA. You see super teams and dynasties in the NFL. Like this is something that as much as people hate it and you can bash on, well, we don't like super teams. We want everybody to be on the same plane. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think it makes it more interesting to have, the big dogs, the giants, because now you think Miami and now with LAFC, obviously with signing him, they're taking it to a new level. And I just think it's fascinating because we always said that the MLS will never catch up to the rest of the world in those leagues. But I don't know, man, if you continue to sign players like that, you're moving in the right direction. And again, this was someone who I think a two-time Golden Boot Award winner, decade, over 130 goals with Tottenham Hotspur. Like this dude's a real deal. So crazy again. 26 million was his contract. But I think as a league, it's good for LAFC, but I think it's another step in the right direction for the league as well. So nuts. But like I said, LAFC, they're kind of turning into the Dodgers of sorts in the MLS with the level of talent they have. Obviously they don't have Messi, but crazy signing and a big one for them at the same time.
I think whenever you can grab a player who is of the caliber of Son Heung, I think that you are in a great place. Again, we've talked about this before. We're getting players, and I don't think obviously the smart Premier League fan who follows the Premier League is going to understand that Son is coming in on the downturn, right? And when I say the downturn, again, when someone says, and when someone like Son says, "Hey, it's like a dream come true," or "This is the greatest thing," I would argue that when he was picked up, by Tottenham, that would have been probably, the biggest thing. I think that coming to the United States is a very attractive thing to players around the world. Okay. We've heard it time and time again. We've heard it from Beckham. We've heard it from Messi. We've heard it from Suarez. We've heard it from these players who have played everywhere else and have not played here. And they want to play here. They want to come. They want to put their family here. They want to live here. That is a real thing. And that is what America is, to be fair, that is one of the great things about this country, is that people want to come here and they want to be here. They want to live here. They want to raise their families here. And so, yes, if you talk about, coming here on the downturn of your career, get a chance to play in the MLS, I think it's great. And I, as I said before, I would like to start seeing players like Son coming in here when they're 28, 27, 29, Again, we're going to get 3 or 4 years out of Son, which is great. And I think it'll help the MLS. And I think it's great for the sport. I think it's great for the country, and look forward to seeing what he can do here for LAFC here the remainder of this season and obviously into next season. So it's a good pickup, and it's really, really cool. And I think that, again, we'll know when the MLS has made another pivotal change is when we start seeing players like Son coming in at 27, 28, maybe even starting their career.
He's still producing, though.
Yeah, I mean, you can produce in soccer until you're 37, 38. I don't doubt that. But again, but again, there's a reason why players come here when they're 33 and not 28. I'm not going to beat around the bush about that. And it's not about being unapologetic either. I'm not going to beat around the bush about that. He will perform better here in the next 3 years than he would over the same 3 years over there. And you get to come to the United States. It's like a twofer. But if you're going to sit here and tell me that Son can continue to hang with all the new up-and-coming talent in the Premier League and have the same results over there versus here, I'm going to say you're full of shit. So, and it has nothing to do with anything other than the fact that he wants to continue to play at a high level and he gets to live in the United States. It's a twofer. It's great. And I think it's great that he's able to do that. And this is why we say this is why soccer is so unique, because, if you're an NFL player, when you're done, you're done. Where do you go? It's like, you're not going to go from the NFL to the Canadian Football League. I don't know how many players have done that. I mean, some players have started there, but they don't go back there, right? I mean, that's why it makes soccer unique, right? In the NBA, what do you do when you can't hack it anymore? What do? You retire. You leave. And I'm not saying that Son can't hack it. I'm just saying it's just weird because in baseball, if you're 35 years old and you're on your downturn and you don't think you can do it anymore, and there's a chance that you're going to get, cut, you either A, retire. I don't think you go back to the minors. I don't think that's a thing. I don't think players are doing that. I think they leave the game because they know their time is up. I mean, let's be honest. This sport, these sports, especially soccer, you have players who are 17 years old. There are 15 and 16 years younger than Son who are playing. It's like, so I think it's great. But to tell me that Son might be a better prepared, more experienced, and be able to do things differently because of his experience that maybe the 17-year-old would need more time to pick up on. But physically, athletically, all the above, the 17-year-old is probably better than Son. Just like the 17-year-old is probably better than Messi right now. Again, not saying better just physically they can recover faster. There's just something to be said about that. So it's just, I would, when we start seeing players coming here at 25, 26, 27, like that's when we've made this jump from what we currently are. And we're still obviously a handful, maybe 10 years away from that being a thing. Maybe it's quicker. Maybe the World Cup helps make that faster. And I don't want anyone to get me wrong with this. It's not a bad thing that he's coming here. It's just that if Son is being offered a contract to stay in Tottenham and he knows he can get 3 more years and be the same player where think about this. In his career there, he scored 127 goals in his 333 appearances. Okay. At Leverkusen, he scored 21. At Hamburg SV, he scored 20. And at Hamburg SV2, he scored 1. So obviously that's the 2 team of Hamburger, right? Do we think that he's going to score 127 goals in the next 3 years? No. Looking at his 2013 to 2015, this contract I think is only good for 2 years. So we're looking at a 2-year deal. He scored 21 goals from 2013 to 2015. So I'm curious to see after 2 years how many goals he scores in this league. It wouldn't surprise me if he scored 30 goals. Wouldn't surprise me at all. So yeah, I think it's great. I think it's great for the sport. I think it's great for fans. I think it's great for the league. I think it's great for all of it. I just want to make sure I always say this. When a player comes here at 33 years old and they're coming from the Premier League and they're coming here to the United States, they're coming here for 2 reasons. One, it's because they know they can play higher quality, they can play high-level soccer and have higher results than someplace else. And 2, they want to come to the United States. Those are the 2 reasons. I'm not gonna change my mind on that until they come here at 27. Gotta come here at 27. And to be fair, it means that the MLS is probably gonna have to pay more money. You're gonna have to pay a player like him $50 million at 27. You know what I mean? You're gonna pay dumb money. And then that because again, if you're a player and you don't necessarily care so much about all the quote unquote what league you're playing in, and you care about the money, go play for $100 million in the United States. Okay, I'll do that. Sure, let's go. Let's go. I mean, and that's what you're going to have to do. If the MLS could do that, I mean, this league would change overnight. You get the best players around the world. Mbappe coming here, pay that guy $100 million a year. He'll be here. He'll show up. No problem. Put on his cleats. I'm good to go. Let's go, people. It would change. Right. It would change. That's how you do it. But that again, then the league completely. I don't know how it's sustainable at that point. So it's like otherwise, I think they'd already be doing it. But anyways, I think it's great for the sport. It's great. Just people need to realize that if you're watching this, he's here for a reason, and it's not just because the MLS is the greatest league on earth. Okay, so let's. It's because he knows he wants to live here. He knows it's good money. And he knows that he'll have more success on the field individually than he would if he was still over across the pond. And that's okay to say that. I know I saw Peter coming in from sunny California. So
what up, Peter?
But yeah, I think that's again, that's my take. I know it's not necessarily, the more popular take, but it's my take. And so that's what you get from me.
And then transitioning into our final topic of the day today. And this was something that you had mentioned a few days ago. We never actually ended up getting to it, but I am interested to hear exactly what you think about it. So this is from the New York Post via Anna Young. Diehard soccer fan kicked out of St. Louis Stadium for wearing MAGA cap. Quote, Trump is not welcome here. Michael Weitzel is his name, was removed from the game at Energizer Park. Apparently there is a strict no politics rule in St. Louis. So I don't know if he knew this and he went against the rule, or if he was caught unsuspecting. My guess is that he probably knew exactly what he was getting into, ended up wearing the MAGA hat into the stadium, and was subsequently removed by security from that environment. There's this saying out there that I really enjoy, and it's called play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And I don't really care what side of the aisle you're on. If you understand that there is a rule against something, generally that means you shouldn't do whatever that thing is. Now, I don't know. I don't really care what the rule is. I don't really care what exactly it is that we're referring to. I'm okay with if you want to have your own opinions on whatever things, politically speaking, that you are well within your right to do so. This is America. You have the right to believe what it is that you want to believe. And I think that's one of the things that makes this country great, right? Because if we were all on the same page with everything that we believed all the time, this would not obviously be a democracy. It would be something completely different than a democracy. And so I think it's important that you have those things, again, regardless of what side of the aisle you fall on. But clearly, I think this individual knew exactly what he was getting into, and he took advantage of it, and then he got booted out of the stadium. But this was something that was definitely going viral on Twitter, maybe or TikTok, that is, maybe for all the wrong reasons, but ends up getting booted out of the St. Louis game, obviously posts about it. People have their conflicting opinions, but there's a strict rule in place with no politics. Now, I don't know if it's anywhere in writing. It's one thing if it's an unwritten rule, then obviously you're talking about something completely different. Then fans obviously can be like, hey, that's subject to interpretation. It's just a hat. So I got to look up the specifics and really kind of figure it out. But there is that no politics rule in St. Louis, ends up getting booted from the game. Listen, my take on this is this. If you are the fan and you know what the rule is, you know what the rule is. Okay. I don't cover myself in honey and walk up to a beehive and then get mad when I get stung. Okay. You just, you don't do that stuff. And I think like sometimes people will just literally go out of their way to create rage, to create outrage because they understand that it works in the social media world. And so I think he did that with the understanding that he would draw attention. We've seen it. I've seen it in the minor league park that I work at. There was literally an anthem singer on the field who was wearing a hat. And, you know, again, to make it more about her as opposed to the anthem that she was singing, which to me was really upsetting because it's not about you in that situation, right? It's about something bigger than you. So again, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. That's the way I look at this. I don't necessarily see St. Louis did anything wrong. I think they're trying to set a tone for we don't want any of that stuff here. We want people to enjoy the game and not feel like they're, intimidated or pressured or whatever it is. But that's the way I see it. If you as a fan know that that's not accepted, why would you walk into that environment like that? It's dumb in my mind.
Oh boy. So it's interesting. I can't turn on a sporting event on any TV in any streaming environment where I'm not being hit square in the face with something to do with, and I think the word political, by the way, I think that's just a shitty word to use to describe like this, because I don't know if it has anything to do with politics as it has to do with just the fact it doesn't align with someone's way of thinking. And so we have policies. I know that if I want to walk into a restaurant, I have to, in most cases, have a shirt, shoes, and no dog. Okay. So if you don't have a shirt on, you're not going to be served. They're not going to let you in. Now, granted, if you're walking in, which I found this to be odd, I was at a beach and they said you can't come in your bathing suit. I'm sitting here going, you're literally like, the sand is right there. I mean, you're literally on the beach. Why can't I come in where? Anyways, it was really weird. But okay, so if I were to just be yelling this, is it okay? Like if I'm just yelling, "Make America Great Again," or yelling whatever I want, is that okay? So I can't wear the hat, but I can absolutely chant it throughout the stadium. Right? So it's the hat. And to be fair, how many people wear things that are not political, that are extremely offensive. You know, I mean, we have gotten so soft in this country. It drives me nuts. You're going to kick someone out of a game because they happen to have a hat on that you don't agree with, and you call it political. It's a political hat. Okay, fine. It is a political hat. Okay. But I also think that when you say you can't bring something in that is political, explain to me in 2025, explain to me what isn't political. I mean, I'm wearing this USA shirt right now, okay? And you can barely see it, okay? Team USA. It's got the flag on it. I would imagine to somebody out there, this shirt, they don't like. Because it happens to have the flag on it. And right now, it seems to be a little bit more popular to bash America, if you're in America, than to say, I love America. And so what makes, first off, who decided that St. Louis was, or the MLS gets to decide what is considered political or not? What's the deciding factor? I understand that the MAGA hat, extremely clear. Right? We know that nobody, you walk into anywhere now, I would never wear a hat like that in the first place. So yes, stupid people, you mentioned stupid games, stupid people, whatever. I get that. I would never walk into an establishment with a Make America Great hat on, ever. Regardless of my political beliefs, that just doesn't make any sense. But I don't like this rule. I mean, okay, so when you go into an environment and there are, and people will say, well, it isn't like pride flags. Those aren't political. I mean, they are extremely political. I'm not saying the cause. I'm saying that waving that flag in 2025, it sparks an emotion to either A, you like it, or B, you don't like it. The Black Lives Matter, that flag, whether you agree with it or not, it sparks an emotion. It's either an acceptance or it's outrage. You can say it's not political, but the whole purpose of this policy is, I would imagine, is to create a safe space so people can enjoy the game. So the difference between those things and the hat, I don't know the difference. And that's why it's a slippery slope. I don't know what they're doing, especially when you're out on the field and you are putting, you are showcasing all these other things on the field. I mean, we saw protests that took place, players kneeling down. We saw Megan Rapinoe do it while wearing a U.S. Women's National Team jersey while she was playing in the NWSL. She was making a political statement. So if they're saying no politics are allowed, what does that mean? What does it mean? I think again, it's a slippery slope. I do not have any skin in this game. There are things that I believe in as a husband, a father, a soccer person that I will not get into on this show. I'm not going to do that. Me and Nathan, we're not going to do that, okay? Do I think this guy should wear a MAGA hat to a stadium? Absolutely not. I think it's the dumbest thing someone could do in today's world. I think you're asking to get into a fight. It's terrible. But what is the difference between that and wearing an Ice Cube hat or another hat that has guns on it, or I don't know, or any other stupid thing someone would wear? Why does that hat or that whatever T-shirt or whatever, why is it? I think if you're going to say it, it's not politics. How about anything inappropriate? If we're worried about families, if you go to a soccer game, nothing about that environment is conducive to a family-friendly environment. I know. I've been to these games. They are loud. They are obnoxious. The chants are way worse than the things I've ever experienced at a football game, by the way. Way worse. I don't think for 1 second this has anything to do with politics. I think it has everything to do with, again, leagues and teams thinking that they have more power than they should. And it's because, again, I mean, if you look and watch anything on TV, what do you see? You see flags. You see like banners that maybe, first of all, I don't know how anything's not political anymore. I don't know how it's not political. I don't know how. I mean, if I walked in with a hat on that said, like save farmers, is that not a political hat? I mean, I just don't know. In today's world, everything's political. Everything is political. If I walk into an environment wearing a hat that says freedom on it, and a shirt that says freedom on it, that's going to piss some people off, possibly. That's what I'm saying. It's like, I think everything is political now. We have politicized everything in this country. You can't go down the road and not think about politics. I mean, so if someone came in with a hat that said, I hate tariffs, would they not be allowed to stay? The biggest issue I have is, first off, who's in charge of managing all of this? And then, two, why are we even doing it in the first place? Absolutely, things that are vulgar and discriminatory and attack and inappropriate, all those things should never be allowed. They're not allowed anywhere. Common sense would tell you that. But to say political, I think everything can be political. And I think what is the benchmark for what is political and what's not? You know what I mean? What is, for example, I heart New York, NYPD. Remember those shirts? I heart FY, the New York Fire Department, right? Those shirts, right? Wouldn't those be political? Like, aren't those political? Could they be perceived to be political? Like, I don't know. I mean, like, that's why I say I hate this. I think it's just stupid. I don't think you should wear MAGA hats too. I think that in itself is stupid. This whole thing is stupid and nonsense to me, Nathan. It's stupid. But I don't know how you police it. I think it's a terrible policy. And I think that if you want to go to a soccer game and you want to put a banner up that says, I love this country or I hate this country, I think both of those things should be allowed. I don't know what. And again, if the policy is, if you can't bring anything inappropriate in, well, you need to be a committee together and figure out what inappropriate is, because I think this guy should sue the shit out of the league. I think he should sue the shit out of him for free speech. Again, but then they're going to say, well, on the ticket it says it's our event, it's our property, we get to do how we want, and that's how that's going to be. And that's herein lies the problem too, right? It's because now it's like, well, you can't do this. But then my argument will be, if you watch any game over the last 15 years on any TV network in America, what do you see? You see banners. And you see people waving flags and chanting and saying, well, consistently, you haven't enforced this. But because I wore this hat, you're enforcing it. That's why. Yeah. And so I just don't like this policy. I think it's stupid. And again, it's no different than watching these auditors that you watch on TikTok now. They walk up to police officers and ask them a bunch of questions to incite them to get a response. I hate it. I hate this too. Right? I hate it. You walk up into a building, you start filming. Why are you filming? I don't know. Give you your ID. And the whole purpose is to get the police to do something they shouldn't do so they can sue them. That is the whole purpose. Yep. That's probably what this guy's probably doing. I'm going to go sue him now. In order for us to do this, we need to sue him. And so my suggestion would be that either A, you just say, we accept, nothing can come in, nothing. You can't even wear hats anymore. I mean, it sounds terrible, but either you go one way or because you can't police this. Who is involved in this? Who is involved in policing this? I don't like it. I think it's terrible. I think it's bad. And it doesn't matter what stadium, it doesn't matter what league, right? And again, if the league's policy is no politics, that means that there better be a damn TV commercial of politics. There better not be a damn thing of politics on the soccer field at any point in time. Nothing political can ever enter the arena and or the environment in which the sport is being played. That's how that should be. If that's the way you're going to go, then that's how it should be done. Eliminate it, fine. Sure, great. I think all fans would appreciate that too. As a fan, I'm tired of seeing politics in sports. So get rid of it. No players, no coaches, no fans, no stadiums, no commercials. For that game, nothing. You can't play a single thing political at all, period. End of discussion. I say you go that way. That would be. I think every fan in America would get behind that. Stop. Take your social politic crap and keep it out of sports. Get rid of it. We don't need it. I got plenty of it. If I want to go watch it, believe you me, I have enough stuff in my threads, in my in my feed that I have enough politics I can consume anytime I want to. I don't need to get it at the NFL or the MLS lower.com field, okay? I don't need it at any level. So keep it out. No politics from players. I don't want to hear it in press conferences. I don't want to hear it at all. I think if you're going to go that way, then great. But you either go all in or you go all out. You can't do whatever the hell this is. Well, you wore that hat, You're out. See you later. And then next weekend, a new person comes in with a political thing, but maybe we don't consider it political. We'll let them stay. No, I don't like it at all. Nope. Yeah. And they know exactly that's how it works, man. Because this is not enforced across the country. This isn't enforced. This isn't even. How do you even enforce this, man? You got 40,000 people. Guy wearing a MAGA hat. He walked into the stadium wearing a MAGA. I mean, come on, man. I mean, he should never be able to walk in. They check your bags. Like if I hid it in his pants and then he put it on, like, okay, fine. But I just find it hard to believe that this guy, 40,000 people. MAGA hat guy. It's like,
Yeah.
And I want to make this clear. Regardless of who I voted for, who Nathan voted for, I think this is stupid. It's just stupid. It's stupid. And as you said, as you put so eloquently here, you play stupid games, you get stupid. Play stupid games, you get stupid people? What was that again? I'm sorry. Stupid prizes. There you go. Perfect. Yeah, that's my take on the knucklehead of the week. Like, come on, dude. What you know what you were doing, guy. Like, come on. Right. I mean, it's like what you're doing, regardless of the stupid policy or not. You know what you're doing. Like, it's like stupid. It's so stupid. The policy is stupid. The guy is stupid. Everybody's just stupid in this, and me included. I'm also stupid. So but that's just par for the course. Either way, though, we appreciate you stopping by here. Episode number 133 in the books here on Inside the Game. Be back at it next Monday. Episode number 134. Remember, the UPSL National Championships are this weekend. My money's on Chicago Nation. They have not won one. They've been there 3 times. This is their 3rd time that they've been there. 3rd time a charm? I think it might just be, but we'll find out more here on Monday. We come back, we'll talk about that and so much more. But that's Nathan Wangler. I'm Jonathan Turner. Hope you enjoyed the show here this morning. A lot we got to. Get to a lot more here next week as well. Anyways, we'll be back here Monday morning, same time, same place, right here on Inside the Game.